He didn't need love. He needed a wife by Christmas. What walked into his office instead was the one skill his dying company could not survive without. The words hit the room like ice. The deal was over. The last investor had pulled out. The screens glowed with losses that refused to stop bleeding. In the center of it all, the billionaire sat frozen, his empire collapsing quietly while the world waited for him to fail. Julian Royce had built everything from nothing. Steel towers, global contracts, private jets. Yet now, with Christmas days away, the company that carried his name was slipping through his fingers. The board did not speak. Silence was safer than blame. Everyone already knew what they were thinking. He was alone, and investors hated lonely men. They wanted stability. They wanted tradition. They wanted a wife. Julian agreed to the plan with a nod that felt like surrender. A public engagement before Christmas. A polished woman on his arm. A story to calm the market. Love was not required. Appearances were. That was when Mara Ellison walked into his life. She did not look like a solution. She wore no shine, no forced smile, no hunger for power. She stood quietly at the edge of the room, holding a simple folder, eyes steady, posture calm. Her presence felt out of place among the sharp suits and cold ambition. Julian barely noticed her at first. The board introduced her as the perfect match. Educated, composed, private. Someone who would not interfere. Someone who would follow the plan. What none of them expected was that she was already seeing the cracks. They had ignored Mara was not there for love. She had agreed to the arrangement for reasons of her own. Reasons buried deep beneath a calm face and quiet voice. She had learned long ago that silence could protect more than words ever could within the first 30 seconds. She noticed the tension in Julian's shoulders, the way his fingers tapped only when certain numbers appeared, the smell of burnt coffee in a room where no one slept anymore. She noticed how assistants avoided eye contact, how fear lived just under the surface. She had seen this before, years earlier. Mara had stood in rooms filled with broken systems and failing people. She had served as an operations analyst during a time when chaos meant loss of life, not profit. She had learned to read danger without alarms. She had learned to fix what others could not even see. Her past had not been gentle. She remembered the hum of machines that never rested, the cold light of early mornings when mistakes meant disaster. She remembered voices breaking under pressure. She remembered standing still while others panicked, her calm the only thing holding the moment together. That life had cost her dearly. She had lost someone she loved to exhaustion and pride. A man who believed rest was weakness. A man who had died because no one slowed him down. Since then, Mara had carried one truth like armor. Silence saves lives when wisdom guides it. Now she stood inside a billionaire's collapsing empire, watching the same pattern repeat. Pride, speed, fear, and no one brave enough to stop it. Julian saw her as a symbol. A Christmas solution. A woman who would smile beside him in photographs. He did not ask about her skills. He did not ask about her past. He assumed she was harmless. That was his first mistake. The first public dinner went perfectly. The media praised the match. Stock steadied for a brief moment. Julian felt relief, thin and fragile. He believed the plan was working. Behind the scenes, the company continued to rot. Supply chains failed. Teams blamed each other. Meetings stretched into the night with no answers. Julian pushed harder, slept less, snapped faster. Mara watched. She noticed patterns others ignored. Repeated delays. Overlapping roles. Decisions made too late or too fast. She noticed that the company was not dying from lack of money, but from lack of listening. At meetings, she sat quietly. Executives spoke over her without realizing it. She was introduced as future wife, not future ally. No one asked her opinion. She did not force it. She waited. The disrespect grew subtle, then sharp. Jokes about her presence. Comments about staying out of business matters. smiles that carried dismissal. She absorbed it all without reaction. Julian never defended her. He was too busy fighting time. The tension reached its peak 3 days before Christmas. A major contract collapsed unexpectedly. The last pillar fell. Panic filled the room. Voices rose. Accusations flew. Julian slammed his hand on the table, demanding solutions that no one had. That was when Mara stood up, not loudly, not dramatically. She placed her folder on the table and spoke with a calm that cut through the chaos. Like air through smoke, she said the company was not broken. It was choking. She said the systems were fighting each other instead of working together. She said the problem was not speed, but noise. The room froze. No one interrupted her. Not because they respected her, but because something in her stillness demanded space. She laid out solutions. One by one, clear, simple, human. She spoke of trust, of slowing decisions to save time, of listening to the people closest to the work. She revealed patterns that stunned even the most senior leaders. Julian stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. She ended with a line that would echo long after strong systems survive storms. Loud ones collapse. Silence followed. Then resistance. Doubt. Pride. Wounded, but desperation won. Julian gave her one chance. What followed felt unreal. Within 48 hours, teams were restructured, bottlenecks cleared, communication restored, decisions simplified, fear eased, people breathed again, the company stabilized. On Christmas Eve, the numbers stopped falling. Julian sat alone in his office, watching the snow outside, realizing the truth. He had expected a wife. He had received a leader. He apologized quietly. No audience, no excuses. Mara listened. She did not gloat. She did not soften the truth. She said respect should never be conditional. She said silence was not weakness. She said the strongest people often wait to be asked. That night, the announcement changed. Not an engagement for show, but a partnership built on truth. The public saw a love story. The company felt a rebirth by Christmas morning. Julian's empire was no longer dying, and for the first time, he slept. In the weeks that followed, Mara never sought power. She used it only when needed. She remained calm, steady, unshakable. The staff began to trust again. The culture healed. Julian changed too. He listened more. He slowed down. He learned that strength did not always announce itself. One line stayed with him forever. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. By the next Christmas, the company was thriving. The markets praised Julian's turnaround. Few knew the real reason. Mara never corrected them. She did not need credit. She had saved what mattered. Some victories speak loud, others simply last. If this story moved you, share where you are watching from and what moment stayed with you. Subscribe for more cinematic stories that honor quiet strength, unseen skill, and the power of dignity.